The village chief's crown, the death bell. The sound of the village bell echoed across Greenhill village. Old women stopped their work and children ran home to their mothers. The bell only rang when something important happened, usually something bad. "Take the children back to the house," Martha told her daughter. "Something is wrong." "What does the bell mean, Mother?" young Grace asked. "The bell brings bad news. Your father has gone to find out what happened. Let us go home and wait." At the village council hall, men gathered around Thomas, the village messenger. His face was sad as he spoke to the crowd. "The chief has died," Thomas announced. "He joined his ancestors last night. We must prepare for his burial and choose a new chief." The men looked at each other with worry. Choosing a new chief was never easy in Greenhill village. Robert Williams lived in the biggest house in Greenhill. He had made his money in the city and returned home 5 years ago. Now he wanted something money could not easily buy. He wanted to be the village chief. "James," Robert called to his helper, "bring me my good clothes. I must visit some people today." Robert knew that choosing a chief was the job of the village elders and the oracle, but he also knew that money could change many minds. He first visited Elder Samuel, an old man who had always been poor. "Samuel, my friend," Robert said, placing a heavy bag on the table. "Look inside." Samuel opened the bag and saw more money than he had ever seen in his life. "What do you want from me?" Samuel asked. "I want to be the next chief of Greenhill. When the elders meet to choose, I want you to support me." Samuel stared at the money. His family needed food, clothes, and medicine, but he also knew their traditions. "Robert, our customs say the oracle chooses the chief, not money." "Times have changed, Samuel. We need a chief who can bring progress to our village. I have plans to build schools and hospitals, but I need the support of good men like you." Samuel took the money. He told himself he would use it to help his family, but he felt shame in his heart. Robert visited 5 more elders that day. Each time, he left a bag of money and got a promise of support. Peter Johnson was the village's traditional prime minister. He was a thin, quiet man who knew all the old customs. Unlike Robert, Peter was very poor, but he was respected for his honesty. Peter's wife, Mary, was cooking dinner when Robert arrived at their small house. "Good evening, Peter," Robert said with a big smile. "I hope your family is well." "We are fine, Robert. What brings you here?" "I want to discuss the future of our village. We need a new chief, and I believe I am the right man for the job." Peter frowned. "Robert, you know our customs. The oracle will choose the new chief when the time comes." "Yes, but perhaps you could help the oracle understand that I would be a good choice." Robert placed a large bag on the table. "There is 5 million naira in this bag. It is yours if you support me." Peter stared at the bag for a long moment. 5 million naira would change his life forever. His children could go to university. His wife could get the medical treatment she needed. But Peter knew it was wrong. "Take your money away, Robert. The chief's position is not for sale." "Think about it, Peter. Your family needs this money." "My family needs many things, but we will not sell our souls to get them." Robert's friendly smile disappeared. "You are making a mistake, Peter. I will be the next chief, with or without your help. It would be better for you to be on my side." After Robert left, Mary came to her husband. "Peter, did you see how much money was in that bag?" "I saw it." "We could have helped so many people with that money." "Mary, some things cannot be bought with money. If I take Robert's money today, what will I tell our children tomorrow? That their father sold his honor for cash." Mary nodded, but she was worried. Robert was a powerful man, and he would be angry that Peter had refused him. Meanwhile, in another part of the village, David Smith was saying goodbye to his family. David was 18 years old and had finished his secondary school education 2 years ago. His father, Michael, was a poor farmer who could not afford to send David to university. "Son," Michael said, "I have made a difficult decision. You must go to the city to find work." "But father, I want to stay here and help you on the farm." "There is no future for you here, David. In the city, you can learn skills and make money. When you are successful, you can come back and help the family." David's mother, Elizabeth, was crying. "He is still so young, Michael. How will he survive in the big city?" "My friend Joseph lives in the city now. He used to be the headmaster of our primary school." David can stay with him until he finds his own place. Michael placed his hands on David's shoulders. Remember who you are, son. You carry the name of our family wherever you go. Work hard, be honest, and the ancestors will guide you. David packed his few belongings into a small bag. As he prepared to leave, he did not know that his village would soon be torn apart by conflict. A week after the chief's death, the village elders gathered for an important meeting. They had to discuss the burial arrangements and prepare for choosing a new chief. Peter Johnson arrived early and sat in his usual place. One by one, the other elders came in. Peter noticed that several men looked uncomfortable, avoiding his eyes. "My brothers," Peter began, "we are here to plan the burial of our late chief and to prepare for choosing his successor." Robert Williams walked into the meeting hall late, making a grand entrance. "Sorry I am late," Robert announced loudly. "I had important business to attend to." "Please sit down, Robert," Peter said. "We are discussing the burial arrangements." "If this meeting is about raising money for the burial, you should have told me. I could have saved everyone's time." Robert pulled out his checkbook. "I will donate 10 million naira for the burial. Just form a committee to handle the details." The other elders murmured among themselves. 10 million naira was more money than the village had ever seen for a burial. "That is very generous, Robert," Elder Samuel said quickly. "Perhaps we should accept this offer." Peter looked surprised. "Samuel, we have not even discussed what kind of burial ceremony we want. This is not just about money." "These days everything is about money," Robert said with a laugh. "The sooner we accept that, the better." Elder Daniel, who had also received money from Robert, nodded in agreement. "Robert is right. We should be grateful for his generosity." Peter realized something was wrong. These elders had always supported traditional ways of doing things. Now they were acting differently. "My brothers," Peter said slowly, "I think we should discuss this matter carefully. Our traditions do not put food on the table," Robert interrupted. "I am trying to help this village move forward, but some people want to keep us in the past." Peter felt outnumbered. He could see that Robert had already influenced several elders. The meeting ended without any real decisions being made. That night, Peter went to the village shrine to pray. The shrine was a sacred place where the village oracle spoke to the ancestors. Father Abraham, the village priest, was there performing evening prayers. "Father Abraham," Peter said, "I am troubled about our village." The old priest looked at Peter with wise eyes. "I sense danger coming to Greenhill. Some people are trying to change our sacred traditions. What should we do? The ancestors are watching. They will not allow their customs to be destroyed without a fight, but there will be suffering before peace returns." Peter knelt before the shrine and prayed for guidance. He asked the ancestors to protect the village and help them choose the right chief. As he prayed, Peter felt a strong presence around him. It was as if the spirits of his fathers were telling him to stay strong and not give up the fight. Over the next few days, Robert continued his campaign to become chief. One evening, he invited groups of villagers to his house and gave them money and gifts. "My friends," he told them, "I want to make Greenhill the most prosperous village in the region. I will build factories, schools, and hospitals. But I need your support." Many villagers were impressed by Robert's promises and his obvious wealth. Some began to question why they should follow old traditions when they could have a rich modern leader. But not everyone was convinced. Grace, now a young woman, spoke to her friends about her concerns. "My father says Robert is trying to buy the chief's position," she told her friend Ruth. "That is not how we choose our leaders." "But Grace, look at all the good things Robert could do for our village. Maybe it is time for change." Change is good, but not when it destroys everything we believe in. The village was becoming divided. Some people supported Robert because of his money and promises. Others, led by Peter Johnson, wanted to follow traditional ways. Robert decided it was time to force the issue. He called for another council meeting and invited only the elders who supported him. He also brought in 2 new men from neighboring villages, claiming they were now part of the Greenhill Council. When Peter arrived at the meeting, he was angry to see the strangers. "Who are these men?" Peter demanded. "They are new council members," Robert replied. "Their villages have asked them to represent their interests in Greenhill. That is not how our system works. If villages want representation, they must come to me first for approval. You are just the traditional Prime Minister, Peter. You do not have the right to make all the decisions. Peter stood up. By the power given to me by our ancestors, I hereby suspend all council meetings until further notice. The room went silent. Robert's face turned red with anger. You cannot do that. I just did. This meeting is over. Peter walked out of the hall, leaving Robert and his supporters stunned. That evening, Robert visited Peter's house. His friendly manner was gone, replaced by cold anger. You made a big mistake today, Peter. I did what was right. You think you can stop me from becoming chief? You are wrong. I have money, influence, and support. You have nothing. I have the law and tradition on my side. Law? Tradition? Robert laughed bitterly. These things mean nothing in the modern world. Only power matters, and I have more power than you. Peter's wife, Mary, came to the door. She could see the hatred in Robert's eyes and felt afraid. You should reconsider your position, Peter, Robert continued. I am offering you one last chance to join me. Refuse, and you will regret it. Are you threatening me? I am promising you that I will be the next chief of Greenhill. How much you suffer along the way is up to you. After Robert left, Mary was very worried. Peter, this man is dangerous. Maybe we should leave the village until things calm down. I will not run away from my duties, Mary. Our ancestors trusted me to protect their traditions. I will not fail them. But Peter was also afraid. He knew Robert was capable of anything. Far away in the city, David Smith had been working hard and saving money. He had learned to repair cars and was making good wages. When he heard news of trouble in his village, he decided to come home for a visit. David was shocked by what he found. The village was divided into two camps. Some people wore new clothes and jewelry, clearly having received money from Robert. Others, including his own family, looked worried and afraid. What is happening here? David asked his father. Robert Williams is trying to buy the position of village chief, Michael explained. He has given money to many people, but Peter Johnson is fighting to maintain our traditions. Where do you stand in this fight, father? I stand with Peter and our customs. Money cannot buy everything, son. David was proud of his father's integrity, but he was also worried. He had seen what rich, powerful men could do in the city when they wanted something. The conflict in Greenhill took a tragic turn when Father Abraham, the village priest, was found dead near the shrine. The official cause was listed as a heart attack, but many villagers suspected foul play. Father Abraham had been one of the strongest voices against Robert's campaign to buy the chief's position. His death sent a message to anyone who dared to oppose Robert. At the funeral, Peter spoke about Father Abraham's dedication to the village traditions. Our brother died defending what he believed in, Peter said. We must not let his sacrifice be in vain. But Peter noticed that fewer people attended the funeral than expected. Fear was spreading through the village. Robert, meanwhile, attended the funeral wearing expensive black clothes and carrying a large wreath. He acted very sad, but Peter could see satisfaction in his eyes. We have lost a great man, Robert announced to the crowd. As your future chief, I promise to find a replacement priest who will serve our village well. Peter was angry that Robert was already acting like he was the chief, but he said nothing at the funeral. Robert's campaign took an even darker turn when Grace, Peter's daughter, disappeared while walking home from the market. Peter and Mary searched everywhere for their daughter. They asked neighbors, checked the forest paths, and even contacted police in nearby towns. But Grace was nowhere to be found. On the third day, a message arrived at Peter's house. It was delivered by a young boy who ran away immediately after handing over the letter. The message was simple: stop opposing Robert Williams, or your daughter will die. Mary collapsed when she heard the message. Peter held his wife as she cried, but inside he was burning with rage. They have crossed the line, Peter told his son Jonathan, who had come home from his job in the next town. Taking an innocent girl to force political change, this is evil. Jonathan wanted to go after the kidnappers, but Peter stopped him. We do not even know where they are keeping her. We must be smart about this. Peter went to the shrine and prayed for his daughter's safety. He also prayed for the strength to continue fighting, even though his heart was breaking. A week after Grace disappeared, her body was found in the forest by hunters. She had been killed and left as a warning to anyone who opposed Robert. The entire village was shocked. Even some of Robert's supporters began to question whether they were on the right side. At Grace's funeral, Peter stood over his daughter's grave and made a solemn promise. "My daughter, you died because I tried to do what was right. I promise you that your death will not be in vain. I will continue to fight for our traditions, no matter what the cost." Mary was too grief-stricken to speak. She just held her husband's hand and wept. The funeral was attended by most of the village, including many people who had taken Robert's money. They felt ashamed and guilty. Robert did not attend the funeral. He stayed in his big house, afraid to face the anger of the villagers. With Father Abraham dead, the village needed a new priest to conduct religious ceremonies and consult the oracle. Robert saw this as an opportunity. He invited Thomas to his mansion, a young man from the priestly family who was supposed to be the next priest. "Thomas," Robert said, showing him a bag full of money, "I want to help you become a great priest." Thomas looked at the money nervously. "What do you want in return?" "When the council comes to consult the oracle about choosing the new chief, I want you to say that the ancestors have chosen me." "But that would be lying to the whole village. It would be helping the village get a leader who can bring prosperity. Think about what you could do with this money." Thomas was young and poor. The money would solve all his problems. After a long struggle with his conscience, he agreed to Robert's plan. A month after Grace's funeral, the village council finally met to consult the oracle about choosing a new chief. Even Peter attended, knowing this was the crucial moment. The council members walked to the shrine, where Thomas was waiting in his new priestly robes. He had practiced what he would say many times. "Spirits of our ancestors," Thomas called out, "we ask you to choose our new chief." There was a long silence. Then Thomas spoke in a dramatic voice, as if the spirits were speaking through him. "The spirits have chosen Robert Williams to be your new chief." Some of the elders cheered, especially those who had received money from Robert. But Peter stood up immediately. "This is false," Peter declared. "The ancestors would never choose someone who has corrupted our traditions." "How dare you question the oracle?" Robert demanded. "I question a young man who has been bought with money, not the real oracle." Thomas looked frightened. He had expected everyone to accept his announcement without question. "The spirits have spoken," Thomas said weakly. "Robert Williams is the chosen one." But as the words left his mouth, Thomas suddenly collapsed to the ground. He writhed in pain for a few moments, then became completely still. The elders gathered around Thomas's body in shock. The young priest was dead. "This is a sign from the ancestors," Peter said solemnly. "They have punished the false priest for his lies." Even Robert looked shaken. He had not expected Thomas to die. "This changes nothing," Robert said, trying to sound confident. "I am still the chosen chief." But many of the elders were now afraid. The death of the false priest seemed like a warning from the spirits. Despite the ominous sign, Robert decided to proceed with his coronation. He hired a new priest from another village and planned a grand ceremony. On the day of the coronation, Robert dressed in expensive robes and invited important people from the city to attend. He wanted to show everyone that he was now a powerful leader. The ceremony began at the village shrine. The hired priest started the traditional prayers and rituals. Robert knelt down, ready to receive the chief's crown. But just as the priest was about to place the crown on Robert's head, he too collapsed and died. The crowd gasped in horror. 2 priests had now died while trying to make Robert the chief. "This is a curse," someone shouted from the crowd. People began to run away from the shrine, afraid that the ancestors' anger would strike them as well. Robert stood alone at the shrine, holding the chief's crown in his hands. His grand coronation had become a disaster. Despite the failed coronation, Robert declared himself chief anyway. He used his money and connections to get support from government officials in the city. "I am the chief of Greenhill village," he announced at a public meeting. "Anyone who opposes me will face serious consequences." Robert appointed new council members who were loyal to him. He also hired security guards to protect himself and intimidate his opponents. Peter Johnson was forced to stay in hiding. Robert had declared him a wanted man and threatened to have him arrested. But Robert's reign as chief was marked by strange and terrifying events. People who had supported him began to have nightmares and strange illnesses. Some went mad and wandered the village, talking to invisible spirits. The village elders who had taken Robert's money suffered the most. 3 of them died under mysterious circumstances. 2 others lost their ability to speak and became deaf. The ancestors are angry. The villagers whispered to each other. They are punishing everyone who helped the false chief. Robert tried to ignore the supernatural events, but they became harder to dismiss. Every night he would go to sleep in his luxurious bedroom, but every morning he would wake up at the village shrine with his guards. "How do I keep getting here?" he asked his guards. "Are you playing tricks on me?" The guards swore they had not moved him. They were as puzzled as Robert was. The mysterious transportation to the shrine happened every night for a week. Robert began to lose sleep and became paranoid. One morning he woke up at the shrine to find Peter Johnson standing over him. "The ancestors are calling you, Robert," Peter said calmly. "They want you to confess your crimes and ask for forgiveness." "Get away from me," Robert screamed. "I am the chief of this village." "You are a thief and a murderer," Peter replied. "The spirits of those you have wronged are demanding justice." Robert decided to end the supernatural harassment by confronting the spirits directly. He went to the shrine at midnight, carrying a gun and shouting challenges to the ancestors. "I am Robert Williams," he yelled. "I am the chief of Greenhill. If you want to fight me, come and fight." Suddenly, the air around the shrine became cold. Robert felt invisible hands grabbing at him. He fired his gun wildly, but the bullets passed through empty air. Then he saw them, the spirits of Grace, Father Abraham, Thomas the priest, and all the others who had died because of his ambition. They surrounded him with eyes full of anger and pain. "We told you to stop," Grace's spirit said. "We warned you that evil would not triumph. Now you must pay the price." Robert tried to run, but the spirits blocked his path. He fell to his knees, finally understanding that there were forces more powerful than money and violence. "Please," he begged, "I will give up being chief. I will leave the village. Just let me live." "It is too late for bargains," Father Abraham's spirit replied. "You chose this path when you murdered an innocent girl. Now you must face justice." The spirits surrounded Robert, and his screams echoed through the night. By morning, the false chief was found dead at the shrine, his face twisted in terror. With Robert's death, peace began to return to Greenhill village. Peter Johnson came out of hiding and called for a proper council meeting. "My brothers," he addressed the surviving elders, "we have all learned a painful lesson. When we abandon our traditions and allow greed to guide us, disaster follows." The elders who had survived the supernatural punishment nodded in agreement. They were ashamed of their role in the tragedy, but grateful to be alive. "We need to choose a new chief the proper way," Peter continued. "Let us consult the oracle honestly this time." A new priest was found, an old wise man who could not be corrupted with money. The council gathered at the shrine for a genuine consultation with the ancestors. This time, when the priest called upon the spirits, the answer was clear. The ancestors chose Michael Smith, David's father, to be the new chief. Michael was surprised by the choice. He was a simple farmer with no wealth or political ambition. But the villagers recognized his integrity and wisdom. "I accept this responsibility," Michael said humbly. "I will serve our village according to our traditions and customs." David returned from the city to support his father's new role. He had learned many useful skills that would help modernize the village without destroying its cultural foundations. Under Chief Michael's leadership, Greenhill village began to heal from its wounds. The new chief implemented changes gradually, respecting traditions while introducing beneficial improvements. David used his technical skills to bring electricity to the village and improve the water supply. He also established a small vocational school where young people could learn practical skills. But the most important change was the restoration of trust among the villagers. People learned to value their cultural heritage and not to be easily swayed by money and false promises. Peter Johnson was honored for his courage in defending the village traditions. Despite losing his daughter, he had never given up the fight for what was right. "Peter," Chief Michael said at a village celebration, "your sacrifice and that of your daughter saved our community. We will never forget their courage." A memorial was built for Grace and all the others who had died during the conflict. It served as a reminder that some things are more important than money or power. Mary, Peter's wife, found peace in caring for orphaned children in the village. She said it helped her feel that Grace's spirit was still alive, protecting other young people. Years later, when visitors came to Greenhill village, they would hear the story of Robert Williams and the price of betraying tradition. "This is why we must be careful about change," the village storytellers would say. "Progress is good, but not when it comes at the cost of our souls." The village prospered under Chief Michael's wise leadership. New businesses were established, young people received better education, and modern amenities were introduced. But all of this was done in harmony with traditional values. David eventually married Ruth, his childhood friend, and they raised their children to respect both modern knowledge and ancient wisdom. The shrine where so many dramatic events had occurred became a place of pilgrimage. People from other villages would come to pray and ask for guidance from the spirits of Greenhill. Peter Johnson lived to see his grandchildren grow up in a peaceful, prosperous village. He often told them the story of their Aunt Grace and how her sacrifice had helped save their community. "Remember," he would tell them, "money can buy many things, but it cannot buy honor, integrity, or the blessing of the ancestors." The story of Greenhill village became a legend in the region. It was told as a warning about the dangers of corruption and a reminder of the power of traditional values. Some people said that on quiet nights, you could still hear the spirits of Grace and the others who had died keeping watch over the village. Whether this was true or not, the people of Greenhill felt protected by their memory. Chief Michael ruled wisely until he was very old, then passed the leadership to David, who had proven himself worthy of the position. The peaceful transition showed that the village had learned from its painful past. The shrine remained a sacred place where the living could communicate with their ancestors, and visitors were always told that the spirits of Greenhill would protect those who lived with honor, but would punish those who tried to corrupt their traditions. The village bell still rang out across Greenhill, but now it mostly carried news of celebrations, births, and other happy events. The dark days of fear and violence were remembered only in stories, as a lesson for future generations about the importance of staying true to one's values, no matter what temptations might arise. And so Greenhill village lived on, protected by its traditions, guided by wisdom, and watched over by the spirits of those who had died defending what they believed in. It became a place where progress and tradition walked hand in hand, showing that it was possible to embrace the future without abandoning the past. The ancestors were satisfied, and peace reigned in the land. Here is the end of the story. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Please drop your comment and share your thoughts with us. God bless you.